Your Excellency, Nigeria's former head of state and Nigeria's former president, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, must thank you indeed for agreeing to speak with us here on Channels TV.
I believe it's my duty and responsibility, especially when you want to talk about a friend, a true friend of mine, and a great world leader. I should give you opportunity to...
Yes. And we recognize that at Channels TV, we know that so long as the continent is concerned, you are perhaps one of the closest persons in the continent that was to the former US president. So I can imagine just how the continent will miss him.
Well, also he lived up to 100 years. And it doesn't matter how long your friend lives, you still want to have your friend around. That I am alive today, President Jimmy Carter contributed to it. The relationship of Nigeria and the US up till today, President Carter made a tremendous contribution. The situation, particularly in the area of decolonization and eradication of apartheid in Africa, he made a significant contribution. And for that reason, I personally feel I've lost a good friend, and I believe that Nigeria has also lost a friend and somebody who understood our country in his lifetime. And Africa has definitely lost an advocate for Africa, a humanitarian, a humanist, if I can put it that way. And the world has lost a man who believes in fairness and justice and equity in the international affairs. There aren't many like that today. So his demise is a loss to the world community as a whole.
Your Excellency, I mean, because I remember that in 1978, when one of the occasions of the former president visited Nigeria, you were the president at that time. So I wonder what kind of memories you have of him, of that particular visit.
Well, sweet memory of that visit. If I can go a little bit back before the visit, before President Carter became president of the US, we were dealing with President Ford and Dr. Kissinger as the Foreign Secretary. The major issue then was the issue of decolonization, last stage of decolonization in Africa. Namibia was still not decolonized. Apartheid was still raging in South Africa. The situation in Angola was not quite clear. That was the situation. And Dr. Kichinya wanted to come to Nigeria 3 times, and 3 times we said for as long as they maintain their policy with South Africa, it will not be in the interest of both of us to have any rapprochement. And we were firm on that. So when before the election took place between President Ford and Jimmy Carter, who was almost unknown, they call him Jimmy Who, we had reached out, because if Ford won that election, we will have to do acrobatic in our foreign policy. We will not be able to keep an American president away for another 4 years. So we were hoping that there could be a change. And we have reached out to those who were close to Carter. And one of those that we reached out to was Andy Young, who, of course, became our friends later. And, so when before President Carter came to Nigeria, he had sent Andy Young to us within the first month of his becoming president of America. We were getting on with his foreign secretary, Cyrus Vance. We have got the frontline states, so to say. So he came as a friend. He came as somebody whose policies in alignment with our aspiration, particularly in Southern Africa. He came as somebody who has a reasonable understanding of our plight as far as development is concerned. And so we were able to go in tandem, let me put it that way. When he was the first American president to officially pay a state visit to Africa, or to any country in Africa. And we had a good meeting. Then, of course, there was the joke that I had later on that I was showing him around Nigeria and Lagos in a helicopter. And I was showing him places. This is Victoria Land, this is Apapa. And we got to a place, according to the joke, that I couldn't identify where it was. And I stretched out my hand, and my wristwatch disappeared. I said, oh, that must be a jingle. But we forged a good relationship, and it lasted to beyond our times in office.
And he will be remembered for his tireless efforts in combating guinea worm disease through the Carter Center.
Yeah, that was later. That was later. While he was president, I believe we can say that with him, and as I said, with the Prime Minister of Britain and the frontline states, one of which we became, actually set the foundation of the elimination of apartheid and the last removal of the last vestiges of colonization in Namibia, because they were firm. We were, when he came, Namibia will be independent and South Africa will pull out of Angola if Cuban troops will move out of Angola. And I was one, I've left government by then. I was one who had to go to Cuba and said to Fidel Castro, well, we have to declare victory. And he agreed. Of course, he thought, well, there was danger in what we were trying to do, but we were able to pull through. Mm-hmm. And he just said, look, I will get every Cuban out of Angola. Dead, those that are dead, and those that were alive. And he did. But he understood what had to happen. Namibia would be independent. South Africa will pull out of Angola, and Angola will be able to go on free and unencumbered. Now, it was after he left office, through Carter Center, that he developed a program for eradication of guinea worm. He developed a program for humanitarian activities. He developed a program for election observation through Carter Center. He developed a program for fighting hunger, which he did with Sasakawa, a Japanese billionaire who worked with him, and Dr. Norman Bullock, a scientist, and I was co-opted into that as well. And it was after that that he had to take on the responsibility of trying to initially make sure that I did not go to jail, or I was not killed first. Then I was not sent to jail. And when I went to jail, he did everything he could possibly do to get me out of jail. I will be eternally grateful to him.
And now that he's no more, when you look at the Carter Center, I wonder if perhaps if we're able to identify people like that who can, with similar mindset, to perhaps prepare to render such selfless service.
Well, what happened to what President Carter did? People who have tried to do that or are trying to do that to be relevant in public office and out of public office. And that was something very significant about President Carter. He did not see his task as a humanitarian, as a world leader, as a man who believed in fairness, justice, equity globally. A man who believed that there should be relief for any human being that is in any danger or in any form of suffering, physical, psychological, political, whatever. And that he continued until he could not physically do it anymore. And I believe that any leader who has had the opportunity of running the affairs of his country will have amounted certain amount of goodwill, certain amount of outreach, certain amount of experience, which he could continue to utilize for the good of mankind or humankind and in the service of God until you can no longer do it. Because there's the purpose of our being here is to serve humanity and serve God. And we cannot serve God without serving humanity. President Carter served humanity until he could no longer. And by serving humanity, he served God. And I believe that that is the responsibility of all children of God. Well, children of God by common grace and by saving grace.
Your Excellency, let me just take you back to when you were speaking about Nigeria's influence and Nigeria's foreign policy. It just brought back memories about just how powerful we used to be. And I wonder, when you look at where we are now with our foreign policy and how it was some years ago.
You talk of powerful. I will talk of influence rather than power. And we brought out a policy. For the first time, we enunciated our policy that Africa is the centerpiece of our foreign policy. I don't say government before us did not consider Africa, but it was not pronounced and therefore acted upon the way we did. And that meant that, look, if you pronounce a policy, you have to make sure that you see it through. You act according to what you have pronounced. And that was what happened in our case. Africa's centerpiece of our foreign policy. What does that mean? It means that whatever affects Africa we will see it as affecting us. Whatever influence we have to at our disposal, we will use it for the good of Africa. And that's what we did. I won't use it as, I won't call it power. I will call it appropriate policy that is backed with action. And we were not just unrelevant and reasonable action. Because when you talk of power, well, you are talking of probably economic power, you are talking of probably military power, or you are talking of technological power. I won't say we have all that, and to the extent that we will say, well, we are throwing ourselves around. But we realize that if we have to matter in Africa, we cannot do it alone. We have to have partners for the front line, to get rid of colonialism, eventually in Southern Africa, where it was a bit of a tug of war to get it out, and to eliminate apartheid. We knew that, yes, we have some influence that we can bring to bear, but who are those who should go along with us as partners? How should we now carry our partners along? What should we do for them? And what should we ask them to do so that we can move forward together? That's what we did. I won't use the word power as you use it.
Yes. What has changed now, Your Excellency? And perhaps where's the missing link?
Yeah, well, what changed is leadership. Leadership has changed, and you should accept that. And look, I told you that when we have said no to Ford and his Foreign Secretary Kissinger, we immediately decided, what do we do next? So there was going to be an election. Who should we see on the other side? Now, we meet beeline to Andy Young, who we knew was close to Carter. And within a month of Carter being sworn in, he sent Andy Young to us. We had already made approaches, if you like, to Andy Young, and it didn't take us time to get to Cyrus Vance, who was the Secretary of State. So if we had those, then we have the ears. We have the ears of the presidency.
One of the facts the government says is that the Port Harcourt and Warri refineries are working. Are these signs of better days to come?
When I was president, I wanted to do something about the 3 refineries we have.
Sure.
Port Harcourt, Warri,
Kaduna.
and Kaduna. And Aliko Dangote got a team. After I have asked Shell to come and run it for us, and Shell said they wouldn't. I said, please, come and take equity and run. They said, no. All right. No, don't take equity. Come and run it. They said, no. Later on, I called them. I called the boss of Shell then. Come and tell me what is. And he gave me 4 or 5 reasons. So, well, first of all, we make our major profit from upstream, not from downstream. Downstream, we run just to maintain our head, keep our head above water. 2, our refineries were too small. 60,000 barrels, 100,000 barrels, and I think 120,000 barrels. He said at that time, average refinery is going for 250,000 barrels. 3, he said our refineries are not well maintained. 4, he said there was too much corruption around the activities of our refinery, and they would not want to get involved in that. And when anybody tells you a thing like that, What will you do? And it was after that, Aliko got a team together and they paid $750 million to take part in PPP, or running the refinery. My successor refunded their money. And I went to my successor. I said, do you know? I told him what transpired. He said, NNPC said they wanted the refinery and they can run it. And I said, but you know they cannot run it. But I was told not too long ago that since that time, more than $2 billion have been squandered on the refinery, and they still will not work. Anybody can tell you, if a company like Shell tells me what they told me, I will believe them.
Excellent. So we don't get to...
If anybody tells you now that it is working, why are they now with Aliko? And Aliko will make his own refinery work. Not only will make it work, it will make it deliver. Whether we announce our own government refinery working or not working, look, it is like they say in Yoruba, the man who plants 100 heaps of yam and says he has planted 200 heaps. They say after he has harvested 100 heaps of yam, he will also harvest 100 heaps of lie. You know what that means?
Your Excellency, we don't get to see you every day, but I'm told that we have to allow you, so I won't disturb you anymore
Thank you very much.
with more questions.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for agreeing to speak with us here on Channel TV. Thank you so much. It's such a privilege and honor, Excellency. Thank you.